Okay, welcome to the Environment and Communities Overview and Scrutiny panel on our social housing review. Tonight we shall be in discussion with ABRI, who is the witness, who provides, I think it's 6,000 properties in the borough. And this is our last module looking at the effective, are we delivering an effective social and affordable housing system in the borough? But over to our ABRI colleagues, just pausing there a second. Harry, have we got any apologies?
We do indeed. We have apologies from councillors Eberle and Welsh, and I can see that not all other councillors are present at the moment, so if they don't join us, we will mark them down as having given their apologies as well.
Okay, thank you. So declarations of interest, are there any members that wish to make any declaration at this point? Jodie?
Hiya, quick declaration, I am an ABRI tenant. Thank you.
Janet?
I too am an ABRI tenant. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other declarations? Thank you. Let's move on. Progress so far. We have looked at the policy landscape around social and affordable housing. We have had a discussion with developers, how they provide the actual housing. We've spoken to outside areas, in this case, Eastleigh Borough Council, about how they deliver social and affordable housing in a different way. We are now at the stage where we're looking at the registered providers and how they contribute to the overall system. And that's where ABRI come in today as one of the biggest suppliers in Bracknell Forest. Module 3 is designed to, if you go back one second, Harry. If and how housing associations provide adequate housing suitable for a variety of residents. So it's a conversation around, no problem, Jenny. Jenny, can I just confirm, are you an ABRI tenant at all? Anyone know if Jenny's just...
She's not.
She's not.
I beg your pardon.
So we just did a declaration of interest earlier on. I'm just checking whether you have, you're an ABRI tenant.
I did hear that bit, thank you.
You did, all right, fine, brilliant. Thank you very much. Okay, right. Guys from ABRI, would you like to introduce yourself at last and just give us your presentation?
Sure, thank you. So good evening everyone. Thanks for having us along. My name's, for those of you who haven't met me before, I'm Tom Mason. I'm the Regional Assistant Director for the South East region for ABRI. Just for some context, as Michael's described, ABRI is one of the largest housing associations and registered providers of social housing in the south of England, with just over, I think, 58,000 properties ranging all the way from Somerset over to West Sussex and including London. And our major concentrations of homes are based around Yeovil, Southampton and Bracknell. And we're the largest social housing landlord in terms of stock numbers in Bracknell Forest, with over 7,500 homes within the borough. Vast majority of those homes are social rented homes where that was stock transferred from the council in 2008 to Bracknell Forest Homes, who latterly became Silver, who then merged with the ABRI Group in 2024. But we've also got significant numbers as leasehold properties and shared ownership homes within the Bracknell Forest area. So thanks again for inviting us along to this meeting to discuss whether Bracknell Forest is delivering an effective social and affordable housing system which meets the demand in the borough. I'm going to hand you over to my colleague Sam to introduce himself now, and he will deliver a short presentation and we'll happily dive into the questions that you've asked. So Sam, over to you, please.
Great stuff. Thanks, Tom, and evening all. My name's Sam Stone. I'm the Director of Land and Planning for ABRI. So I oversee all of our new build development opportunities that cover the whole patch. We do have a specific team that covers the southeast region, which is where Tom is based, which is a chap called Fergus Cruikshank who I think some of you may have met a few weeks ago. So diving straight into the presentation, and again, this is a presentation that was provided to some councillors which came in to see us in our offices in Bracknell a couple of months ago. So apologies if you've seen this before, but I felt that it set quite a good scene of what we've done and or done recently and where we're heading as well with new development opportunities. So on the plan, you can see in front of you, you can see our office, which is just to the west of the town centre. The yellow star is a large site which we've been monitoring for some while, which is the Amon Corner site, which Persimmon Homes have got, and we are very keen to get involved with that in some way, shape or form. You can then see on the red stars all the sites where we're currently active, actually developing on site at the moment. And then there's a couple of green stars, which are ones which are either in planning or about to be in planning very soon. Next slide, please. So just to give you a very quick overview, you can see, and I appreciate there's a lot of detail on this page, but you can see the past couple of years we've been doing fairly small numbers, but numbers are planning to ramp up quite significantly. So historically, in the past year or so, we've done the Coopers Hill Youth Centre site, which I'm sure you guys will be familiar with. It's part of the joint venture between Bracknell and Countryside. And then as you can see a bit further down, we've got Market Street as well, which is giving us a significant amount of our new homes for the forthcoming financial year, 26-27. As you get further down, these are basically, please don't disclose these to other people because it is commercially sensitive. Appreciate this might be going on the YouTube channel, but hopefully we've got a good relationship with the owners of the Jennets Park site. So this is one that is currently in pre-app and it has got an open market consent. We are looking to do as we normally do, which is change it into 100% affordable by utilising Homes England grant funding. And then there's Hambledon and Hurley as well. We're hoping that those dates will come forwards. We tend to put it in a bit pessimistically until we know we've got support. I see there's a question raised.
Gina?
Yes, thank you very much. Thanks, Chair, through you. Can we just be very clear? The scheme, Butlers Park, which was phase 3A, 110
Yes.
completed, and then there's this number 12. What does that mean?
So sorry, the 110, that's an internal project code. So you can see there's a number in front of all of the scheme statuses. So the 12 is what we have completed in 23-24. So
Okay.
that one is part of a wider site that Carla are doing, and we've got a section of Section 106 homes on that scheme.
Okay, and then further down again on Butlers Park, which is called Wokingham. Very odd. It's Crowthorne. So it's phases 4 and 5A. So there are 16 properties there that are maintained by you. Is that right?
Yeah, so these are completions which are forthcoming. So they have either completed in this financial year or they're still to complete in this financial year. So we work on financial rather than calendar year. So basically up until the end of
good.
March.
So that's this financial year. Okay, good. Can we make sure that you've got, it is not Wokingham? Okay.
Yes, apologies. That's it's an internal system what this is, and I think someone's incorrectly labelled that one, but we can get that changed.
Great. Thank you very much indeed, Chair. Thank you very much for that.
Could I just check the Hambledon and Hurley? That's the block of flats which is affected by RAC. Is that correct?
It is, and I'm going to come on to that in a bit more detail on the slide in a moment.
Okay, Dorothy, you have a question.
Yeah, and it's a follow on from when Tina mentioned, because the Haley Green, that's not the large. Yeah, this is where it's saying it's the North Lodge Farm. It's a mixture of it because that's Woking as well, because we do have problems with that Haley Green site at the moment as well. Can you tell me what part of it is?
So those are homes that completed a couple of years ago. So what I've tried to do is look back over the past couple of years to see what we've built in Bracknell and then try to illustrate where we're going over the next few years. So development
Okay.
has been reasonably low levels for our numbers, but I'm trying to illustrate that going forwards, we've got quite a significant pipeline of development within Bracknell.
Yeah,
Okay,
because
brilliant.
saying this
Yeah.
is private and we're recording it because this is a very sensitive issue at the moment, because I'm sure Tina will verify it.
Yeah.
We're on a bus on Saturday up that area where it's causing a lot of problems around at Haley Green. Okay, just as a matter of, it's all right having this form in front of us, but it's knowing the actual, not the what could be. It's
So
causing me.
just
Yeah.
keep that in mind as we go through. Sorry, Tina, do you
Okay,
have another
thank
question?
you.
Yes, may I again, Chair, please?
Yeah, sure.
Can I ask,
Oh, no.
sorry, I don't know your name. How very rude of me. The
Sam,
Sam,
I'm Sam
okay.
and Tom.
So tell me about the properties. Are they houses or are they flats?
There's a mixture. I did have a very detailed table, which probably wouldn't have come across too well on the presentation. I'm more than happy to send it across afterwards, which details what all of these schemes are.
It
I
would
was
be
told
good.
I only had 10 minutes, so
Yeah.
I tried to keep
Yes,
it as
yeah,
short and
it would
simple
be
as I
good
could.
because we need to ensure that not only
Yeah.
are we looking at sort of the younger persons, we're looking at people with family homes.
Yeah.
Can I
I'll
That's a
just
good
touch
jump
point.
upon
in
that
there?
later as well in the presentation as well.
Let's keep
Sure.
going, otherwise, because we've got 1,000 questions to ask you, as you've seen. Let's keep going.
When are we going to finish then? Are you still be
Well-
okay at 10 o'clock tonight? Are you? You've had dinner, I hope.
Right, Sam,
Not
keep
yet.
going.
I might, yeah, you
No,
might hear
neither
the
have I,
shouts from the
actually.
wife at 8 o'clock.
Well, Lilyhill Park is 33 flats that I know of. Let's go.
Okay.
Okay, on
Thank
to
you
the
for your
next slide,
Sam.
please.
Thanks very much. Thanks.
Not a problem. I thought it'd be helpful to provide an overview. So this is the upcoming pipeline of development. So it is from next financial year onwards, just to give you an idea of the tenure split that we're looking to develop. So as you can see, virtually half of it is social rent, and then the rest is split between affordable rent and shared ownership. And again, I can add the tenures when I send the further details afterwards.
Can I ask a trend question, which is this pie chart increasing social rent over affordable, or is it a fixed split? You know, is it moving to one way or to the other?
It is there's a few different limbs to the answer. So if it is section 106, pure section 106, and again, I'm stealing some of the thunder of later slides, but I'll answer that now. If it's pure section 106, it's basically, it comes from what your policy is. So if your policy is affordable rent, you will continue to get affordable rent. If your policy is, like some local authorities, split between social and affordable, you will get what you've asked for. Obviously, there's viability reasons on some schemes that
Yep.
might change, but the general principle is on section 106, whatever your policy is, that's what you get. On grant funded schemes, so typically a lot of what we do is grant funded from Homes England. So we take the whole development and we turn the open market homes into affordable homes. Your question, is there a trend or a change in the tenure? Yes, there is, because the new grant programme, which is coming out imminently, we are able to bid from February onwards, that stipulates that it has to be 60% social rent. The other 40% can be what we like. We are probably going to be looking at 60% social rent, probably 10% affordable rent, and then 30% shared ownership. So historically, the grant funded programme had to be 50% shared ownership and then 50% rent of whatever tenure you wanted to. Now, to be competitive, we can offer more money if we charge affordable rents compared to social rents. So historically, you would have had pretty much 50-50 shared ownership and affordable rent. So that will be changing on schemes which are predominantly grant funded going forwards.
Okay, thank you.
Next slide, please. So just to give you a flavour of what those red stars were on the plan previously, these are 3 sites that we are on site at the moment. So we've got 2 which are being built by our in-house build team. That's Barn Close and Bay House. And then we've got Market Street, which again, you guys will know well. That is the joint venture between Bracknell and Countryside, known as Cambrian. And we have got the Section 106, and we've got some additionality on that one. So additionality is essentially where grant funding is being used, and it is additional affordable housing over and above the Section 106 requirement. On to the next slide, please. So Hambledon and Hurley, these are some previews of our hopefully forthcoming submission. As you know, site is located on Ralph's Ride and Woodmere, and this is a site where the blocks are affected by RAC. So that's the aerated concrete. And essentially we have people going out there and checking it on a weekly basis to make sure it's still in a safe position. So it is safe to live in it at the moment, but it won't be forever. So we are continually checking it. Essentially what we want to do is, and we're in the process of doing this, is buying back the homes from the existing residents. And we want to then submit, or we'll do in advance of getting all of the homes, we're going to submit a planning application for this new development, which is 4 or 5 stories in height, and it provides 106 new homes. And as you can see, it's a pretty, well, it depends what your views on architecture are, but I think actually it's quite a stunning design scheme. Quite a tricky scheme as well to achieve in B&G, and I think we'll touch on B&G in the discussion later, because there's a lot of trees on the site, as well as a lot of sites in Bracknell. So trying to get more development, if you take trees away, you have to provide a lot of extra tree planting back. So this scheme is going to be absolutely stunning if and when it gets planning permission, because the nature on this site is going to be better than what's currently there, which is really quite good. I see a question.
Jenny, you have a question?
Sorry. Comment.
Approximately when do you expect to get it to planning committee? Thank you.
Well, we're hoping to submit fairly soon. We've just got a bit of extra number crunching to do internally before we can submit. I would be happy if we got it to a planning committee by the summer.
Thank you. Jodie?
Hiya. So I'm the councillor for Harmons Water and Crownwood. So obviously I get a lot of feedback about these flats. And I'm in contact with a couple of people who are still living there. And they're saying that, you know, some of them are having trouble either shifting tenants for the few that are privately owned and a couple that are council social owned, and they're having trouble moving. So what are you doing about the last few tenants?
Tom, are you able to assist with that one?
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of the buybacks from the leaseholders who are acting as landlords, obviously we can't do that until they've got vacant possession, which unfortunately the onus is on them to get that. But we are working with them to sort of assist where we can. In terms of our customers that are still waiting to be moved on, it really is waiting for.
Dan says there's a card on top of the box.
Right.
Tina, do you want to go on mute?
Tina, your mic's on.
It's just a question of waiting for appropriate housing for those families to become available, but in an area that we want. Because what we've tried to do with rehoming the customers that are in Hambledon and Hurley is to put them as wherever possible in a home of their choice, in an area of their choice, so that can be a bit elongated. I mean, in terms of how these regeneration projects go, we have moved the majority of people within 18 months, which is quite a quick time frame for these things, and the local authority have been really helpful in allowing us to free up the use of some of our existing properties to be able to do that, ones that they might normally have nomination rights for. So we're hopeful that we can complete everything within the next 6 months. But if there's any specific issues with specific customers there, be happy to contact me off or after the meeting, and I can pick that up with you.
Yeah, that'd be
Dorothy?
great. I'm happy to help
Sorry.
assist, and that's good to hear. But could you email me, please?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very
And
much.
Dorothy, you
mine's a
have a
quick one on this, just as when the word planning comes up, and something that I'm sure Tom will let you know that I'm having walked the areas with me. One of the things that the biggest problem is parking. Is when it's all right saying they're beautiful to look at, but if you don't take into consideration what accommodation is required by those persons in going into them, it is causing mayhem. And not only parking, but waste also. So be prepared. I am taking this year of 2026 to hand on environment. All right. It's
Okay.
just I am very concerned. They're very nice blocks, but let's make sure they accommodate correctly. Thank you.
Okay.
Let's keep going. Otherwise, we're here all night. Thank you very much, Dorothy. Next one.
Yep. Next slide, please. So this one is Jennets Park. This is the end of the Jennets Park development. It does have a planning permission in place for a very tall building. Essentially, I'm not sure how much you know about the kind of marketplace for construction at the moment, but essentially build costs have outstripped residential sales values. So the planning permission that is in place is just purely not viable. It would cost more to build that planning permission of such a tall building. That's even if you could get it through the building safety regulator, which is bottlenecked at the moment, so nothing can actually get its approval to be built. So somebody that we know has bought this site and they are looking to replan it for a scheme which is lower density, so still reasonably high density for a town centre location, but it's not a tall building. So this is a scheme that is viable to be built and then developed out. So pre-apps have been undertaken, and we believe the application, if it hasn't been submitted already, it is due to be submitted imminently. So this is one where we are looking again to deliver the whole site as 100% affordable.
Okay, thank you. Jenny?
When we looked at this site as a planning permission, we weren't all that keen on the very high building, but we were very keen on the parking arrangements. So just I hope they put the same ones in. We'll see when they come to planning. Thank you.
Yeah, so this one, it kind of mimics the footprint of the original or the extant planning permission, primarily because there's some whopping high voltage cables underneath the ground which you cannot move or develop over. So the parking is pretty much staying in the same place as the extant permission.
Brilliant, thank you.
Next slide, please. So this is something that is really close to our hearts. More people in social housing are likely to have a disability than those that do not live in social housing. Disabled access homes varies by local authorities, as in policy requirements. Essentially, where we are in control of the development, i.e. Abry Build are constructing, we look to deliver more disabled homes than what policy requires. So on Bay House, we're doing 1, Hambledon and Hurley, we're looking to do 6 affordable homes, so proper disabled access. And then Jennets Park, we've already had, as part of the initial discussions, an open conversation with Bracknell officers and said, if you've got people with a specific need, let us know, because we've got the opportunity to design it into the scheme. So obviously we need to secure the site from the current vendor, but our ambition is to actually deliver disabled homes built specifically for people with a need in the local authority. Next slide, please. And just finally, if anyone would like to come and see any of our sites, Bay House and Barn Close, we can get you onto straight away because we're in control. Market Street, I'm sure we can get you to there fairly quickly. Further afield, we can show you some homes that are either complete or almost complete over in Reading. They're not occupied yet, so we can actually get you into the properties. You can see what they're like. And then finally, if you wanted to see a site in Wokingham, it's occupied, so we can't take you inside, but it's one that we're really proud of and would love to show you around the outside of it, and you can just see the quality. So if anyone would like a site visit, please let us know afterwards. That's the end of the presentation, and apologies it went on a little bit longer than envisaged.
Lots of questions. Right, Harry, let's move on to... So actually, just off your back of your presentation, I've got a couple of other questions just to start off, actually, which I was noting down as your presentation. Clearly, that number, I think, what did you say, 7,500 units? Was that the number? So you are a strategic partner in the provision of social and affordable housing to Bracknell Forest. You are number one. And clearly, you've had the merger with Silver, and I'll be interested to know whether you think that partnership is working at the high level, and how effective that merger has been.
Tom, do you want to take this? I can happily do it as
absolutely.
well.
I mean, from a
Can I add on to that, if you don't mind, Michael? Also,
what you want to
add on to it, just the fact that how there is, I did say at the beginning it was over 7,000, but also the matter of the right to buy, because how many of the houses still are amongst your numbers right to buy? Because that is what I'm finding coming in again.
Down, Dorothy. Let's write that down in the other questions, and we'll
okay, thank you. It's just something that before I forgot it. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. We'll put it down on the other questions list. Do you want to jump back to that one then? Sorry, Tom.
Sure. So absolutely, yes. In terms of business as usual, the merger. I mean, I've worked. I described obviously Bracknell Forest Homes, Silver, and Abri, and I've worked for all three iterations of the housing association you see in Bracknell now, and I can say categorically that the merger has been absolutely a success in terms of what we're able to deliver. From a business as usual perspective, our repairs service has improved, our customer satisfaction has improved. What we're able to do in terms of the economies of scale is a huge difference now as a bigger organisation. The numbers that Sam was showing you there in terms of development would have never been achievable under Silver, just purely because of the size of the organisation. Didn't have access to the same level of funding or the access to grant funding, especially through Homes England. That's something that Abri really brings to the table in terms of their access to that grant funding. So yeah, absolutely, overwhelmingly, I'd say it's very much been a success.
Okay. I know that there are some services you were originally buying off Bracknell Forest and no longer choosing to do so. Has that changed the relationship with the council per se? So I'm aware of some of the street cleaning, some of the maintenance contracts. Is that your understanding too?
That is correct. Yeah. So we had a recent meeting with some of the exec team at Bracknell Forest, and we were in discussion around that, and it hasn't affected the relationship as far as I'm concerned, as far as I think as both organisations are concerned. Obviously, where we're able to, we would love to be able to use those facilities that are offered by Bracknell Forest, but it's a competitive market, and because I say the economies of scale we're now able to bring, it's often cheaper for us to do it ourselves. So we have to look at it from a value for money perspective. However, in that meeting, there were some other things that were discussed around gully clearance, for example, and we're going to explore where it's possible and where it makes most sense that we may look to take up some of those services again if it makes sense for both organisations.
Okay, thanks very much. But I suspect you probably won't know off the top of your head what Dorothy's questions. That will come back to us, John.
And I think in terms of how many are currently affected by right to buy, it would be any tenancies that we have that predated the stock transfer in 2008. So that's going to be a reducing number year on year. And as you'll find, as you know, as those tenancies get older, the customers whose tenancy is become older, and so they're less likely to purchase those properties. I think we've probably seen the peak of right to buy within Bracknell. I think when you look back as to what the original council housing stock was in Bracknell, I think originally it was 17,500, reduced down to roughly around 6,500 via right to buy. So I think I would hope we've seen the biggest impact of right to buy now.
Okay. Do you want to jump back to the first set of questions then, Harry? Capture any other as we go through. So this was sort of, we put it through planning and preparation, then there's a build and run phase. We can add in questions as you go. So if we start with the first question. So this is about demand, how you work with the council to identify demand. And so there's lots of challenges around this. And you can see a question further down, particularly around 3 to 4 bedroom units. Can you give me a sort of an understanding how this works for you? Particular focusing on the way the policies that we've got as a council help you to do this.
Yeah, certainly. So, I mean, new opportunities, they are opportunity driven. Exactly that is. It's what has a planning permission that comes to market that we can buy. So, for example, Section 106s, they will typically be a result of what your policy is. So if your policy and your housing enabling officers, when that private application comes in, they say to the house builder, we want X amount of 1 beds, X amount of 2 beds, 3 beds, 4 beds. Typically, that's what they will end up getting. Obviously, it depends on the scheme, and the developer might have different ideas, but essentially it comes from your demand figures, your need figures, and your policy, and that translates into what the planning permission is. So if we are then buying those Section 106 homes, we have got absolutely no say in what they are. It's as per the planning permission. If we're in control of the development, then we've got a little bit more say. So Gennett's Park, for example, absolutely great case in point. We're having the pre-apps at the moment. The housing enabling officers were part of that pre-app. They were saying we would like more 3-4 bed houses and for social rent. And we've said, well, we'll see what we can do. We don't own the site yet. We don't control the planning application, but the guy that's going to submit the application wants us to buy the site at the end of it. And if we don't like what he's got planning, we're not going to buy the site. So us being in control at an earlier stage, not full legal control, but in that negotiation for the acquisition of the site, you can see we've got an influence on what the final end product, the planning permission, could look like. So yeah, your policies have a very strong input into what comes out of the planning end.
And in terms of willing to become the registered provider or signalling the developments that you are interested in taking on that role, can you sort of give us a feel for how that decision making takes place for you?
Yeah, certainly. The past couple of years have been exceedingly challenging for housing associations. So essentially, if you think we are a landlord at heart that does development on the side, okay, we're not a house builder. Our main aim is to provide housing for people to rent. So you need to bear in mind the context of the market we've been in, with prices not rising for shared ownership, which has an impact. But essentially, rents haven't really gone up anything. They've been capped. And there's different rent levels, and it might get a bit technical, but whether it's capped to LHA or whether it's 80% of open market rent. So you've got rent levels which could be higher. So our income isn't as much because they've been capped. You've then got inflation, which pushes all our costs up. You then had the government inviting registered providers, tenants, to complain if there was any issue whatsoever. So you had rising complaints in a time of rising costs when we had the same level of income. So costs have gone up, but your income hasn't. You've then got inflation and the interest rates going up. So essentially all of the money that we've borrowed to do development, we're having to pay more money on that. You've then got regulatory changes like Awaab's law coming in, which we've had to prepare for. You've had regulatory changes in relation to fire, and then you've got EPCC and our sustainability requirements that we've had to push up. So to cut a long story short, we haven't had as much money over the past couple of years because we've had to spend on a lot of other things, which means development has been pushed down. What we wanted to deliver and what we could afford to deliver are two separate things. So essentially, what has happened with the 106 market, the 106 market for the past couple of years has been on its knees. And this won't be news to anyone that house builders are very upset because they can't sell the Section 106 homes to the RPs because essentially we haven't got the money to be able to pay for the Section 106 homes. Now, the question then gets raised, well, how can you afford to do your grant funded homes compared to not being able to do 106 homes? The answer to that is we have a contractual position with Homes England that we have to deliver the grant funded homes that we said we were going to deliver. If we don't deliver those homes, we have to give that grant back to Homes England / the government. So we have to deliver those grant funded homes. We basically would have liked to, but couldn't deliver the 106 homes. That's the bad news. The good news is we've just had our new investment strategy adopted or approved by the group board at the tail end of last year. And the new investment strategy is signalling that we are looking to get back into the 106 market. And funnily enough, I've just had 2 board approvals for 2 pure Section 106 schemes, not in Bracknell, I hasten to add. But essentially, we're now starting to get approvals to get back doing 106 again. I think the tide has finally turned. The market is showing signs of recovery. The house builders are starting to get a bit more active again. And I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that things will get back to a normal state of play where RPs are quite happy to and can afford to buy the 106s from the open market house builders in the very near future. Bit of a long answer, but hopefully that covers it.
Yeah, I mean, lots of sort of questions around the actual model itself and how is it sustainable, recognizing that you're the biggest player in the market in our area, and it doesn't necessarily work for you. Previously, that obviously
what I would say is we may have the largest stock in the area, but we're not without competition from our fellow RP peers. There are other active RPs in Bracknell. There are some sites which we've not won, which I wanted to win, but I won't go into the details on those.
And is that competition just around the provision, the ability to buy those 106 properties, or what? How does competition manifest itself?
So those previous ones, they are, I think, fully grant funded schemes rather than just pure 106. Okay. But essentially the way it works is when a house builder has got a site and they want to sell the 106, or if someone controls the whole site, they either bring it directly to us and say, make an offer, or they instruct an agent and the agent goes out to the market and the agent comes out to us and says, do you want to make an offer?
Okay, right. So it's relatively straightforward then, isn't it? It's
yeah.
Okay. No other incentives built into that. Yes, Dorothy.
Yes, that was my concern, because when I hear the word 106 and planning and with developers, it is to the benefit of where that money is then channeled that I would be looking at also. But that's for the future once your development is in place that I will look at. Thank you.
You mentioned earlier on, Sam, around evolving requirements, particularly sustainability, environmental. Listening to what you've just said, obviously they have these are costly additions, solar panels, heat pumps, etc. How is those additional requirements that you're going to have to provide how is it changing that market, that ability to deliver, recognize the increased cost of those units?
So we've been doing what we think will be the future home standards for about 2 or 3 years now. Everyone expected the future home standards to come out long ago. It was supposed to have come out just before Christmas. We're now being told it's going to come out in January, so watch this space. But essentially, the future home standards is a new set of standards which is trying to minimize the amount of carbon that's required and maximize the energy efficiency of the properties. So, for example, doing away with gas boilers. It is very rare now that we put a gas boiler into a property. Typically, I mean, over the past 2 years, I think we've only had 2, maybe 3 schemes approved that have had a gas boiler. And that's because they were part of a legacy development that got planning permission years ago. Everyone knows now if they come to us with a new scheme, we expect air source heat pumps or some other form of electric heating like panel heaters. You can do infrared as well, but unfortunately SAP doesn't recognize infrared, which is a shame. We're being told that SAP might be changing later this year, so then infrared technology could be used because that's a game changer.
SAP, as in the software vendor?
That's no, it's I think it's a standard assessment procedure or something. Don't quote me on that. Essentially, it's an energy efficiency measure. So what the government use, we have to clear certain hurdles to demonstrate that the property is efficient. I mean, policy-wise, it's really interesting because if you guys set something as policy, then when people bid for a site, they look at your policies and they take that into account when they make an offer for the site. So essentially, if you put more cost in, more policy requirements, what happens is the land value reduces because it comes off the land value. It doesn't come out of the developer's pocket unless they've already bought the site. So typically, if you've got stuff in policy, it can be delivered. Now, what you need to bear in mind, though, is how far can you push things because of viability reasons? Because if you put too much in and the costs go up, all they're going to do is come back, whoever's running the application, and say, it's not viable. I need to reduce the affordable housing because otherwise we can't afford to do the development. So you have to be careful. You can't just load everything that you want into policy because it could then have a detrimental effect on delivery of other requirements of the borough.
Okay. Just looking at the broader ecosystem, there obviously you need to have a good relationship with developers as well. You know, we've talked about the council officers and the early work with officers on planning for developments. What about the developers themselves? In order to get the right sort of outcomes, how's that working?
I mean, it's a relationship that we both need each other. We have great relationships with all of the house builders. You can't work in silos. You've got to get on with each other. Yeah, I mean, we get on with all the house builders. And as I say, if it wasn't for the past couple of years and the financial constraints, we'd be doing Section 106 deals with all of the main players that you can imagine. I mentioned Persimmon have got the Amon Corner site, which we're talking with them and saying, okay, when you get your consent, we want to be part of that development. So give us a shout.
Jodie, you have a question?
Yeah, I'm really pleased to hear that you're investing in sustainability in future builds, but I was just curious, are you looking to do the same sort of investment in current stock?
Yeah, we've and Tom might be able to answer this more than I, but it's not an area that either Tom or I deal with, but we have colleagues that do, and we're getting significant levels of grant funding from central government to upgrade numerous properties, but I'm not sure if any are being done in Bracknell or not. Tom, are you aware?
So I think in terms of sort of the bigger numbers for the group, I think in the last year we got around about £23 million in warm home grants. That's to be used on insulation, upgrading double glazing, fitting solar panels, etc. In terms of what we're doing with that in Bracknell, Boyd Court, as Tricia will know, will be one of those schemes that's benefited from that, although it's not always gone as smoothly as perhaps we would have liked. But we have renewed the cavity wall insulation there, which is part of that. And that is not just the only funding that we have for improving our existing stock. We've got our own money that we're putting into that as well. In terms of Bracknell, yeah, there'll be properties that we're identifying, and again, if needs be, we can go away and get some more information from our colleagues in planned maintenance to find out exactly what we've got coming up.
We do have a
Thank you, I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Area, so there's more questions coming down the line in a minute. Tricia, you have a question?
Yeah, re the renewal of the cavity wall insulation at Boyd Court. Is that now complete, or are we still
Yes.
waiting for it to dry out? Or
yes, that was completed actually around sort of February 2025 actually.
okay, and are people still complaining that it's cold? Because there were
certainly
complications.
not up to this point. No, it seems to have had some effect, which has been great. We're certainly not seeing the level of interaction with customers around it as we were obviously last winter. Obviously, we are in a bit of a cold snap at the moment, so it'd be interesting to see what customer
I was
feedback
afraid
is.
to ask the residents, but
Yes.
forewarned. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's move on to once Harry's done that, to build and hand over. I know that you do some of your own build, Abri build. It was on the first slide. Can you just give us sort of a brief capability and capacity of your build abilities?
Yes, certainly. I'll cover other things as well as Abri build. So at the moment, we're delivering circa 1,000 new homes a year across the organisation. The ambition is to increase that to 1,500 new homes a year within the next 5 years. And then after that, we're looking to get up to circa 2,000 homes a year. So we've got massive ability to deliver new homes, and we do that in a number of ways. So we either do it via Section 106, so the house builder is building it. We do it through package deals where someone controls a site and we pay them to build the whole site and we get the homes at the end. Then we've got our own internal construction team, Abri Build, which is where we get we get the best quality. So that's why we have Abri Build, because we get the best homes possible from our own internal construction team. We get limited defects, and when there are defects or anything goes wrong, we get back in there quickly and deliver. And then the other end of the spectrum is we also do joint ventures. So we haven't got any in the Bracknell area at the moment. They're typically at the moment down on the south coast and West Sussex way. And the JVs are essentially like you guys have got with Countryside. We're doing the same as you with Countryside. So we're going into it to do an open market development. We take the affordable. We potentially do a little bit of additionality, but essentially we're funding half of it. Our JV partner's funding half of it, and then we split the profits. Those profits we then put back into delivering more affordable housing. So we don't actually make profit, we make surplus. Any money that we make, we put back into either the existing stock or delivering more homes.
Just thinking about actually the mechanism of taking homes from developers and then bringing them to into use. I mean, the really important stuff. It's great, but making it occupied, making it usable, turning it into a home. How effective is that broadly from both your own builds and with developers? How smooth is that, particularly the relationship with the council officers, ensuring that we get the right families into those homes?
Tom, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. So in terms of the nominations for new properties, all sort of new builds, especially where it's Section 106, the the council will have 100% nomination rights for those properties. And so we work very closely with them in order to get the right nominations through. What we try and do is, obviously, it's very important for us to build sustainable communities, so we need a mixture of different types of households wherever possible, and different types of nominees from the waiting lists. Obviously, there's a lot of pressure on local authorities at the moment with temporary accommodation costs and things like that, and so the temptation can be, and we've seen it in other local authority areas, not necessarily in Bracknell, the temptation can be to sort of, when you get a large new scheme, to sort of empty out your temporary accommodation, which doesn't always help for the future management, because it's often a case that there's enhanced vulnerability for that customer base. We don't, as I say, we don't tend to see that in Bracknell. We work very, we've got a long-standing relationship where we work very well with them. We tend to give them 8 weeks notice of a new build scheme coming across, which gives them plenty of time to get the scheme advertised and nominations through. And we've got a really good record in terms of the turnaround from the point that the keys are handed over to us via our development colleagues to the point that the property's let. So it's generally 2 to sort of 5 working days between us taking possession of that property and a customer taking possession of it to become their home. One of the things that we're really quite proud of that we do with new build schemes and is that all new build properties are provided with flooring, so customers don't have to shell out for that.
Okay, that makes sense. And the quality assurance for those new properties, recognising you obviously have your own build function, how do you ensure that the new residents, the tenants, are going to have a home with limited number of defects? How do you get off to a good start?
So I would say that we are probably renowned for being or having one of the toughest and highest standards when it comes to handover of new build properties. So essentially we have employers agents which we have acting for us throughout the whole development phase, so we can see how the properties are being built. We're making sure they're being monitored. We've got very strict contractual requirements on what the developer or contractor has to provide to us. I mean, our fire requirements for in particular, taking the photos, making sure it's all documented and everything has been done properly. Our customer care team as well is getting quite large in that we have a number of employees whose job is to chase up the house builders, developers, contractors, and any issues that arise get fixed in a timely manner. We've then, for those that don't sort it out in a timely manner, and we have contractual requirements for them to do so, if they don't do so, we've then got a team of people that basically go in, do the work, and then we charge the house builder back. So we are, as I said at the beginning, renowned for being quite tough when it comes to quality, because essentially, if we have happy customers, then we're happy. If we have happy customers, we're more likely to get our rent paid properly.
Okay, that makes sense. When you finish typing, Harry, so the next one is, this is both new, the run of a new and existing stock on the next slide. When it moves. Yeah, so this is the run of the operation itself. So there's a couple of things. Obviously, you merged with Silver, so you would have taken over a whole load of new properties, and it'd be interesting to know if you've managed to clear any backlog of repairs or defects that you had during the merger. I'll be surprised if there wasn't some issues that you would have found out during it. It's quite normal. How that's gone, how your current tenants, recognising, of course, we've got a number on this call, see you in terms of performance, particularly also, and I'll give you some feedback around communication once you've had a chance to sort of answer the first question from some of your tenants that we've spoke to as well. So it's that where are we today, and how is the performance of the business?
Okay, so I'm happy to take that one. I think you're right to highlight that there were issues with the silver stock prior to, or the way that silver was operating prior to the merger, which is one of the reasons behind the merger. And it's not anything to do with necessarily bad management at silver. It was just coming out of COVID, there was a big backlog of repairs, which an organisation of that size was struggling to deal with. And that was one of the benefits, as I pointed out earlier, of the merger, was that coming into a bigger organisation meant that backlog could be tackled really quite quickly. I mean, there was a big backlog of roofing jobs that was cleared down within around 6 months. I think at the time that the merger went through, we had 100 empty void properties, which is a very high number for an organisation of that size, and that was cleared down again within the space of a couple of months. And so we've
That's all gone now.
economies of scale.
You don't have any, other than normal business. What did you call it? Void? Did you say?
Voids, yeah. So empty properties that are transitioning between tenancies. We had
that's been resolved. You're within normal tolerances.
That was resolved within a couple of months of becoming ABRI. I think within the region now, we've probably got an ongoing, what we call a work in progress, a WIP of around sort of 15 voids at any one time at the moment now for this region. So we turn them around very quickly. We've got sort of sector leading void turnaround times. I think we're averaging around sort of 20 days for a standard property to turn it around from the point that we get the keys back to the new let. And if you look at other organisations comparable to our size, we're probably doing around sort of 10 days better than most. So we've done very well in that respect. In terms of maintaining the quality of our current stock, we've got a dedicated direct labour organisation called Home Care, so all in-house repair staff, and that involved bringing over a lot of the silver employees as well. We do use specialist contractors for things like roofs. Just for some context, in the last financial year, we carried out over 165,000 responsive repairs across the whole of our geography. Placed over 1,500 kitchens and bathrooms. Our customer satisfaction, we do a customer satisfaction survey after every repair, and for those interactions, we came in at over 90% satisfaction rate from 10,000 responses. So just under 10% response rate, which is not too bad for a survey, but when you think about that, over 90% of customers were satisfied with the repairs service. I know that as elected members, you'll come across a lot of potentially customers that aren't satisfied, but I think that's probably because you're dealing with people that are where mistakes happen and things like that. But as the data that we've got is that the majority of our customers are happy with the service that we're providing.
Okay.
We've got
sorry, just recognising Tom, there was a couple of questions. I'll ask the question, then I'll bring Tricia in. We've spoken to obviously a number of residents who use your services during this process. A number of times, and I don't want to give it sort of deep basis, is the communication aspect. Now, obviously, there's a broad spectrum of people, some who English is a second language and so forth. There was comments just about the tone, quantity and clarity of documentation that can be provided.
Right.
And some of the comments were just being overwhelmed by the sheer volume of necessary documents, and sometimes understanding what the tone of the letter was saying. So potentially one of the recommendations we're looking at is trying to refine the communications to get a better understanding of what you and the tenant need to do in terms of the relationship.
Of course, so, that's really useful feedback. Thank you. I mean, do you want me to go into that, or I mean, it might be Trish's question might be relevant.
Yeah,
as
well,
well.
let's do Trish's question first. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. I have a couple. The first one that came to mind was about maintenance of gutter and downpipes of rain goods, because I know historically, since the takeover from the council, that was sort of sidelined and not done properly. And actually, I found that recently there have been a couple of places where that even the new stuff hasn't been checked properly, and there is water pouring down the walls, and clearly that's really not good for ongoing maintenance. So I'll send that to you, but
Please.
is it something you do have a schedule for, to check gutters and downpipes?
It's certainly something that we used to have a schedule. As you'll know, with Bracknell Forest, it's quite a unique situation because of the sheer volume of trees and the close proximity to properties. And I think holding our hands up, I don't think that's something that we perhaps appreciated as a whole organisation. The unique challenges to Bracknell Forest, and where there was previously a gutter clearancing programme, and that may have been, we may have reviewed that, and I think we probably need to review it again, if I'm completely honest with you.
Please do as soon as possible.
Yeah. So that's it's useful feedback. Thank you.
The flats at Windlesham Road, Stewart House, York House have particular problems, I think, especially York House, where the end of a line of gutter is missing even, and I don't know what happened there, but serious business. The next thing is, does ABRI view sort of private tenants differently from council tenants? Or have you just got the same sort of response and procedures, or?
Obviously, we have people who own their own homes aren't directly our customers. Obviously, they may come into contact with us in certain aspects. I think probably the most common one would be around the handling of antisocial behaviour, for example. And if they are, experiencing antisocial behaviour at the hands of one of our customers, then obviously we will treat them in exactly the same way that we would treat anybody, and we would try to resolve that. I think one of the issues that we have, and you'll know this, Tricia, through some of the casework that we've done together, is managing people's expectations about what's achievable. And that's and we recognise that's an area where we can get better, and that is some of the feedback that we get from some of those customer satisfaction surveys, for example. So yes, well, we will, that is of course our intention, is to treat everybody as well as we can, but it's just about how do we manage people's expectations and ensure that we're doing what we can for them.
Yeah, a reasonable sort of agreement. Yeah. And the final one, actually related to that, is I've recently been contacted by a bloke who's recently moved into a ground floor flat at Jocks Lane. I've forgotten the name. Disabled parking is an issue. That there is disabled parking, but it's not used by a disabled person, and I think right next to it is access with a drop curb to access a bin store or something, and that's got hatching on the surface, and that's ignored as well. Everybody parks where they can, and if those are empty.
Just because you're getting into the details of some specific casework.
Sorry.
You pick this one up.
Absolutely, yeah.
Separate, if that's all right.
Of course, yeah. But you said at the beginning about how important it is about disabled.
Yeah, no, it's a very good point. Tom, actually, I'm in the same place as Tricia. I've got a question for you as well, but
sure. But we should, because you deal with the outside of the block, that surely is a problem that is common to private, social, whatever people in a house in the blocks. Is that not so?
Yeah, absolutely. And parking is one of the big issues around Bracknell Forest, as you'll know, and it's something that we struggle to deal with due to quite often lack of enforcement powers. I think just to go just more generally into disabled bays, whilst they can be painted in, we can't actually police who can and can't park in there. So that would be down to traffic enforcement. But I think, you know, rather than getting into the weeds of this, I'm happy to pick it up with you. Any specifics outside of this, as you know.
Brilliant. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Jodie?
Hiya. So I was just wondering about the surveys, because I mean, as a tenant, I've done a few of these surveys, but they mainly seem to be focused around satisfaction with the repairs received, and the repairs themselves are fine. They're professionally done. The people who turn up to do them are very nice, but they don't seem to ask any questions about any other part of the service, like, for instance, how long it takes to get the repairs booked and how many people that you speak to along the way, because that's one of the things that I hear about a lot, is that every time there's an issue and you try and communicate, obviously it's all the same email and you'll speak to 3 or 4 different people about the same issue.
Mm-hmm.
So am I missing a survey, or is your survey maybe slightly skewed?
Well, we tried to do things about, surveys around each individual interaction. So those repair surveys will be around the actual repair itself, but it's a very good point that you make about actually getting to that point. There may be separate surveys that people, or feedback that people will be encouraged to give at the point of booking and when they speak to a customer advisor, for example. But that's something for us to again, I'm happy to pick that up, that specific feedback with you, because I'm hearing loud and clear, and it's something that comes through to us through the survey responses that we get from customers. Is it, a consistent theme is communication. We get it via our tenant satisfaction measures that we have to do via the regulator. Again, one of the top themes that comes back from that is communication, and so we're always looking to how we can improve that. Like I say, we'll be honest, an organisation of our size, we're not always going to get it right, but we're always looking where we can improve. So we've got, for example, we've got our a group of residents called our Resident Scrutiny group, who are looking at how we communicate more generally at the moment, and they're due to feedback with some recommendations soon. So that's looking at it from very much from a service user's perspective and a customer's perspective, to sort of give us some hints and tips and some recommendations as to how we can do better. So
that's good to hear. Thank you very much.
While I'm saying I know that we don't get it right all the time, we are hearing that message from customers loud and clear, and we are working on it.
Thank you. Jenny, you have a question.
Yeah, quick one. Following on from Fisher's comments about the disabled parking, near me there is a lady who was not complaining, but saying that it's a disabled parking place that is not being used. They cannot find out who owns it, and nobody can tell them. They do use it because it's there and nobody complains, but they would really like it to be either allocated or disabled parking, if you see what I mean. And the other point is, there are some of the lines on the estate which are not particularly clear, and some of them where road repairs have been done and so forth, and repairs on other things. So thank you.
Could I suggest that you pick up Tom directly on that particular parking space and those areas? That would be useful.
Just to say that we do have a dedicated email inbox for elected members and MPs that you can use. It's called direct.
I think I have done. I have done that, and
okay.
I've been told there's no record, or they can't find a record and can't lose it until they know who it belonged to.
I'm happy for you to contact me direct about that, and I'll get something investigated for you.
Thank
Tom,
you.
and
I'll contact you again.
Just on that matter, Nick Rose, go back into Nick Rose and on highways, okay? That's the one I was dealing with you, Tom, with regards to number 12, okay, at Fernbank Crescent. They have all listings of what is the parking and that. Okay.
And just to add to that, where you talked about the line painting, we've got a fund over the next couple of years where we have sort of set aside, several £1 million for improving the wider estates across all of our regions, obviously across all of our properties. But it's looking at things like line painting for car parking spaces, bin stores, landscaping, just all the little things that we can do to make estates more practical and nicer places for people to live. So we've identified, a number of estates across Bracknell where we're looking to do that. We're just working out our matrix for now as to how we're going to divvy that funding up. But it's just to say that we have, we recognise that as a big issue for customers as well, and so we're looking to address that over the next coming years, and we've set budget aside for it as well.
This question actually not about housing; it's about a legacy. It's about the silver legacy, and the fact that we were a new town. Some of the casework I get, it's got nothing to do with houses. It's small parcels of land that Abbury have inherited.
Yeah.
In our borough, there's one in Wellington Close where residents are talking about, would like to buy it and all sorts of stuff. And there's Sandhurst Library. That land around there is yours. Those legacy. The legacy parcels, the legacy that you have inherited from silver, is it something that negatively affects the way, is it distraction for your core business, just because of the historical nature of Bracknell Forest?
Not necessarily. I think, we are a housing association that's made up of numerous stock transfers from local authorities, East Hampshire, Eastleigh, Somerset. So we are used to dealing with this kind of thing. And where practicable, if somebody wants to buy it from us, as long as it's not something that we need for access or for utilities or anything like that, we would look to do that for people. Likewise, there's a number of parcels of land that we are currently in the process of gifting to the local authority in Bracknell to turn into parking spaces, for example, to sort of alleviate some of the sort of big issues with parking around Great Hollands, as we know, which is obviously one of the worst affected areas. So in terms of the distraction from BAU, not really. I think actually in some ways, like with the parking bays, it actually helps us to strengthen our relationship with the local authority. So, and where we can help, we will. And actually it works for both parties. It's land that we then no longer have to maintain, and for the local authority it helps alleviate issues for them.
With that in mind, I'll be another one of the people that are knocking on your door, Tom, along with the rest of us. Now we're at the end, and we're on to other questions. Like final thoughts for Tom and Sam. Any other questions that the team you would like to ask? If members could stay on the call, I'd like to thank. Oh no, Dorothy, that was at the desk. Dorothy, you were nearly there. What would you like to ask?
Oh, I thought I'd give you time to talk. Okay, all right, lads. When you interview, the questions I'm going to ask you with regards to families, this is something that, Tom, you'll understand why I'm asking this question, because the proximity of other neighbours being around other people, particularly this is an old borough. You might be building new, and we have brought up what I've stated I am very concerned about is planning, is parking and the facilities of waste, whatever size building, flat or whatever. But my concerns are of the past, of what you have inherited. And this is happening today. I am going to be dealing with it again tomorrow. Something, Tom, that you know about is Fernbank Road is one that is important. But it is when they fill out the form and or the people you're moving them into, do they specify who is going to be in there? Because it is the parking problems, because this is an old borough. And I say old, not old, but old in the essence that our residents never expected to have the parking problems we have. And not to push it on too much, when you know the one I'm going to bring up, there was a disabled bay that I was able to get for a lovely lady when she died, and now you've given it to a family. And we have changed it from a disabled into parking. It's been misused and abused. How do you have a form, or do you look at the parking thing? Because that is our biggest problem.
So in terms of prospective tenants, obviously they are screened. They go through verification checks. They obviously most of the nominations come via the local authority, so the application will have what members of the household. One thing I'll be honest with you is we don't ask people for how many vehicles they have.
No, you don't.
And so, but the problem that
do you require?
But the difficulty that we have nowadays is that obviously you've got more and more multi-generational houses because children are unable to move on because of lack of housing supply or affordability, and also you get more people that are driving. So whereas households generally would have had 2 cars, you can now see 3, 4 in many households. And the issue that you've got, as you say, in Bracknell is it wasn't built for cars. It was a new town that was built when the average household didn't own a car. And now we have a situation where households, as I say, own upwards of 2. And most of the parking is on street. And so without wanting to deflect from that our responsibility as a landlord, if the parking is on a highway, it is the local authorities.
As the landlord, then can you, or would it be in that perspective that you would be responsible to make it more adaptable, the property you are going to facilitate to a resident or residents, that accommodates them more correctly, that the garden may have to, or the frontage, be accommodated? Do you take that in? Because it's important that, I'm sorry, but it's a planning matter that's getting out of control. I'm sure that a lot of you, and that is the biggest problem I am facing.
Can I
with
summarise,
Avery.
Dorothy, just so we've got it on here? So the question you're specifically asking is, as a responsible landlord, parking is a troubled area, and there is
Which
often,
they've noted.
Yeah, is this an area that you are influencing requirements in to deal with this increased requirement? And do you have specific policies around what parking capacity is required? Something like that. Is that where you're coming?
Something along there, or when they're looking at the property itself, could it be more accommodating? Because could the facility
okay. I think
be altered?
So I
also?
think you're thinking around sort of driveways and things like that. Am I right? So where necessary, we'll give people permission to put in a driveway, but again that the permission to drop the curb needs to come via us and the local authority, and there needs to be a fee involved in that, which would be driven by the customer from their needs. As a landlord, yes, we'll do what we can to facilitate that. And I do think
just coming in there, boys, it is something we do need to look at.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've got it. We've got it down.
Looking at the.
Thank you, baby. And the bins.
Yeah, we got the bins. Got the bins. Right. Okay. So we'll wrap it up there. If members stay on for a couple of minutes, I'd like to thank Tom and Sam for their coming along tonight. I think I've got you away 7 minutes before you'll get shouted at. I think at 8 o'clock that was mentioned.
Well
So
done,
thank
Chair.
you very much.
Tom, this is me going back out now, having another meeting out in the
Dorothy.
cold.
Yes, thank you very much, Dorothy. Right, on that happy note, thank you very much, guys. We'll come
Thank
back
you,
to you
everyone.
in due course,
Thank
and of course
you.
you will see the report once finished. Okay, thank you.
Good night. Thank
Thanks,
you very
Tom.
much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes,
Bye
Tom.
bye. Bye bye.
Bye.
Right, Tom, Harry, sorry. We'll just a quick one on recommendations. So Harry and I have started drafting recommendations. They're all at this stage smart. Everyone understands or use smart. Yeah. Smart. So they will be very, very focused. We're not having any wishy-washy, waste of time ones. These are things that have very specific scope and timeline on. We'll have a session where I will play them all, but I'll give you the information beforehand. You'll be able to draft, amend, make comments as seen fit, but they will be then submitted as part of the report. Harry, have you got anything you can just show some of the work we've already done,
Yeah.
so you can get a feel?
Are we
Yeah,
still?
didn't see him.
Do you want me to still record this?
Pause there because this is obviously a draft.
Yeah.
So we've closed the meeting recording wise.